Man, I just cannot get on track. First I get sick on Saturday, so I just don't have it in me to finish Sunday's video, so I pushed that back to today. Then this thing arrived, and I just had to make a video on it. And I can't do it on Sunday because that's the Halloween video, so I'll have to do Sunday's video next week. Oh well, at least it's not like my Fixing Earthrise video, which has been pushed back like, I don't know, like 2 years and counting now. I still want to do that one. It's just that there's so many videos I need to do. Official Metal Slug Transformer. The only Transformer that it's okay to call Slug. This is Precious. I love him. He is my son now. For those not in the know, Metal Slug is one of the greatest arcade games of all time. I could probably build one whole wall of my house out of the number of copies I have of the Metal Slug franchise. You know, if like half of those weren't digital copies. It's one of those games that I pretty much buy every time a new version comes out, like Devil May Cry 3, or Resident Evil 4, or Disgaea 2, and someone thought it would be a brilliant idea to have that titular tank from those games cross over with the Transformers. And there's nothing facetious about that. Whoever came up with that idea is a genius, and we should be parading them through the streets as one of mankind's greatest heroes. And I have to point out before we go any further, one thing that always annoys me is when people crap on third party for being too expensive when the figures will be Masterpiece alikes for like 114 bucks. Is that more expensive than Chug? Yeah. But it's also significantly bigger with higher quality materials and more effort from a smaller company with a worse economy of scale just doing it for the passion of the franchise we all love. Saying fuck them, how dare they charge what it's worth when they're giving us more for not that much more is ridiculous. But not here. You can't complain here, because this isn't more. This is 80 bucks, the price of a commander. And when Rodimus is a commander, this has every excuse in the world to be in that price class. So this isn't more for more, you are getting more for either the same or less depending on how you look at it. Starting in vehicle mode this time, not because that's how it comes in the box, which it is, but because this is the true mode. If this was all this thing was, then this is all it needed to be. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. It's so perfect. It's a little weird because you don't normally get a good look at the front of a Metal Slug, only its profile, but in profile, it's exactly what it should be. I don't think there's a single wrong detail. In principle, the turret of the in-game sprite was always far curvier with fewer harsh angles. It more had the cross-section of an oval rather than a rounded sphere. And the turret is definitely not sitting as low in the treads as it should. It's far too proud. Plus, as much as we might want it, this is not made out of rubber, so this will never be a tank that can duck like in the games. However, this is far more accurate to the larger screen-filling sprites from the intro sequences to the games, and almost all representations of the SV001/2 in plastic stick far closer to these angles than the ones seen during actual gameplay. Unfortunately, the treads are mostly here just for show. Completely understandable, as these would have been a unique kind of hell to make work in comparison with most treads, and unless you're MMC, treads always suck anyways. However, it does have tiny little caster wheels, which allows this boy to chug along nonetheless. So all that means that while it would have been really cool if the treads could function, you can't hold it against this thing that it doesn't have those. And I have to point out that while it's not particularly evident in this mode, since most of the detail is being hidden behind the treads, this thing is painted to the nines. I'd say that the only part of this where there's a notable lack of pigment is on the rotary cannons on the sides, and it's really just the barrels. The treads are unpainted, but those feel pretty appropriate for what they are. But I think basically all the gray is paint, and then it's got accents everywhere. As for accessories, this only comes with one, the most classic of all the Metal Slug items, the Heavy Machine Gun, which is both a cool knickknack to have on its own, but also a magnet, used to activate the light-up gimmick for the figure, which comes with batteries installed. So not only is it just nice, but for once we have a figure where it's not confusing as to what kind of batteries it takes. Once these run dead, pop them out, look at what type they are, and get some more of those. No guesswork needed like normal. I do find myself wanting for just 4 more accessories. It would have been awesome if it came with a fired cannon round, an explosion effect for the barrel, and 2 blue bursts for the Vulcan cannons on the sides. But I can't complain when it's already giving us so much for so cheap. And then there's the posability. Now the turret can't rotate, which is a bit of a bummer, considering while the Metal Slug didn't rotate for combat, it did slump off to the side when taking a hit. However, this is still on a crunch joint, allowing the turrets to angle up and down like in the game, adding yet more play to this with actuating pistons, and the Vulcan guns on the side can angle up and down. However, these are very tight till the paint strips off them, and they are just pegged on, so they can fall off. An easy fix though. Plus there are a few bits and bobs you can twiddle. So with a tank, we are already kicking all of the ass. There's barely anything more that I could ask of this thing, and it's stuff that's really understandable and unreasonable to ask of it, like a rotating turret, which would require more engineering and more advanced pistons, or the requirement to remove said pistons to allow the turret to rotate. It's not anyone's fault that this doesn't work with the cartoon physics of the in-game sprite. This is already guaranteed to be the best toy of the Metal Slug ever released. But then, it transforms. And to be clear, the first time you do it, it's going to be incredibly hard, but it's only going to be that hard the first time you do it. And not because this is too complex, but because some paint needs to rub off the joints and parts need to come unstuck. This is a beast to separate everything on the first run-through, to the point where you will think that they just don't come apart, but after the first transformation, once everything is freed up and all the paint locking the joints together is broken apart, this is actually a really fun and simple transformation. I am legit shocked that anything could look this perfect as the Metal Slug tank, and then transform in general, let alone have such a simple one that also achieves so much. I will say that the little ankle pieces are 100% going to get stuck together rather than come apart, so you are going to wind up with one ankle that has both of these and one that has neither, but otherwise this is an awesome and fun transformation that makes a ton of sense and can be done pretty quickly. Finally, the robot mode is so goddamn cool! It is both relentlessly badass and remarkably cute. It has the perfect design for what the Metal Slug should turn into, and it's really big. This is actually larger than a normal Masterpiece scale figure. Not by a ton, but like a head to half a head. Sure, some of that is an optical illusion due to its overall bulk, but at the same time, we did pay for that bulk, and again, it was 80 bucks. Here it is next to the 86 Grimlock, and if this is 50, then this is absolutely 80. And here it is next to the Kingdom Rodimus, and if this was 80, then you better bet your sweet ass that this is more. Yet, it's not. It's the same. And here's where the paint really steps in to take the show, adding details just about everywhere on the figure. Normally, Transformers designs get these in large swaths of color, but not this boy. Instead, he gets tiny punches of black and gray literally everywhere on his body, and the cool thing is, it's not all paint. Some of this is just polished metal, like the tops of the thighs and shoulders. And you know what? I'm known for hating on diecast, but this is using it for great justice. I've never thought to use metal for the look of metal before. I don't know why that's such a novel idea. He's got pistons, both real and fake. He's got the cool little tread cape. All of his kibble looks purposeful. I don't have a bad thing to say about the design of this thing. The only flaw I can think of is that there is a consistent manufacturing error going around that mine has, where this plate above his crotch is upside down. But it looks fine, and I don't really care. And while the legs are really long on this guy, it's actually weirdly hard to notice. I can't tell if he's overall more lanky than natural. If you notice, his hands are hanging down to his knees, and if that's making it so it all looks like it belongs together, or if the design is just so bulky in general that it takes the emphasis off the legs. But it just looks dope as shit. This design captures the energy of the game so well. I could see it running right alongside Marco and Tarma main for life, and Theo and Eri. I think the box knows that because it's got this in the perfect running pose along the side of it, which this thing can absolutely do with ease, because the joints on this guy rock. I don't know if I own another figure that feels this well built. Sluggy here is solid as a rock. Oh, I love him so much, he's just so fucking good! And then the head sculpt is interesting too. You got the mono eye, which normally I'm the kind of guy who says that anything with greater or fewer than 2 naturally occurring eyes is an abomination and should be exterminated from orbit, but I can't help but find this adorable. It just looks so innocent for a giant death mech. And then it's got this little faceplate of an eyebrow that can close up on its head and give it a far more hardcore visage, with 2 implied eyes now. And what's more is the head also has a light up gimmick, and it also comes with batteries installed. Plus it works by the same magnet, so there are no ugly buttons on the head. And it's so damn bright, it looks so cool! How are they giving us this much for this cheap? So this is just the sickest possible robot mode. If you told me they were designing a Metal Slug Transformer, never in a million years would I think it was going to turn out this cool. I'd probably just assume that they'd stick some arms and legs on the turret and call it a day. And to be fair, this is an expected fan mode they designed into this thing. But they went above and beyond anyways, and made it look more detailed like this than they ever had to. Love was put into every inch of this thing. Posability is fantastic, by the way. You need to pop the head up to get the rotation out of it because of the collar pieces, but once you do, it's got no downside, with normal rotation, normal up and down, but with some above average sideways tilt as well, helping with the cute expressions this can make. Shoulders are blocked up by the shoulder pads, but those are designed to get out of the way in several fashions, so normal 90 here, with all of the range in all of the directions you could possibly want. The little cameras on the shoulder pads can rotate, by the way. Maximum elbows on a very interesting double joint, with advanced hands that have individual dual-jointed fingers and a ball-peg thumb that's on a separate joint, and mild palm action, with a slot in the palm, making me think that at some point this was planned on coming with a gun. Serious ab crunch, hips are completely unimpeded in all directions, but you have to mess with a lot of kibble to get them to go backwards, a fair bit more than 90 knees, which you can cheat for maximum, and feet with massive toe down, heel down, and a little toe up, plus a pretty decent rocker. So this thing has excellent posing. It has no joints that are below average, and most of its joints are actually above average, with several specialty joints. And just overall, I am in awe of this thing. This has immediately become one of my favorite figures ever. It is my son. And it's not even a character I grew up loving. I mean, it's a tank I grew up loving, but I'm not normally one to just buy a vehicle because it's cool. I like Transformers because of the character. And I think here, the character inherently shines through. It is cute as hell and ready to rip you a new asshole. And I don't know what kind of mountaintop and megaphone I need to proclaim it loud enough, but this is worth your money. Buy it. It's awesome. It kicks so much ass. And it's $80. $10. It's so goddamn cheap for what you're getting, which is an awesome, fun little tank, based on a game that you should probably play at some point in your life, that's built so well it makes me weep, with awesome light-up features, character for a tank, and a great transformation with a jaw-dropping robot mode that looks so cool and poses fantastically. I want nothing more from this thing. It is a 10 out of 10. A flawless victory lap that puts most official Transformers to shame. Hilarious how the best Transformers crossover figure is only a crossover figure and not actually a Transformer. It is better than a masterpiece and way cheaper to boot. It's not even a knockoff or a bootleg, third party, none of it. This is an official figure of Metal Slug, and it just makes me want even more stuff like this. Buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it! And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.